What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to another episode of the Anthem of Impact Wrestling show. Now, I know this is up late. I want to kind of go over that real quick. My wife's grandmother had passed away, so I wasn't able to record on Friday. Pretty much a full day helping around with that. And then also, here in the St. Louis area, that same Friday morning, we had some pretty bad storms at the school that I worked at. It was in the part of town where everybody's electricity just got taken out. And whenever electricity's out, it even affects our gas in the kitchen. So, but then since then, other things have been going down. I got called in yesterday. I was going to record this in a couple unboxing videos yesterday, but then I got called in because our walk-ins on all of our coolers were going down. So we had to rent a big, huge cooler truck and move everything in there. And it was just another hectic day yesterday. So again, I apologize for not getting these up on time. For any of you that look forward to it on Friday evenings, so again, I apologize. But fresh off of work, and I am home to give you my reaction and my review to this week's episode of Impact Wrestling. So let's get started, shall we? First of all, I think we got another great opening promo, or opening, like, the video vignette promo, whatever you want to call it. The video packages that Kevin Sullivan and his team has been putting together have been amazing. I love, like, the recap video package that starts off the show. Have been really great since this regime has come back. Them going over this Ultimate X, like the history of the Ultimate X and who's been in it, who wins the titles with it. It made what was going to be the main event feel super, super important and really big, just really big. And so I really liked that. Overall, though, too, as the night went on, I started thinking to myself, and I think I even tweeted something about this out, was the crowd overall seemed really lively and really loud, and like you heard a lot of chants over and over again. And I don't know if it's just the way that they edited it, if the way that it was mic'd, or if the crowd was just that much more lively than usual. But that helped this episode, because I personally think that this episode might have been, if not the best, probably one of the top 2 or 3 best shows so far of 2017. It was really good from top to bottom. And let's get into that show, because it starts off with, of course, a match. They've been doing a great job with this here lately of kicking off the shows with a match. And not just any match, but a really good, whether it's an X Division match or it's been like this tag team, but the 2 tag teams, which were LAX, Garza Jr., and Laredo Kid. I mean, they're more of like a kind of lucha, fast-paced, cruiserweight type style wrestlers. So again, it's high impact, fast-paced, get the energy going, everybody's hyped and having fun. This, of course, was for the GFW Tag Team Tournament. And this should be interesting. I'm interested to see where these go. I guess, I don't want to see Impact Wrestling go, but I'm, let's just say that, which a lot of people thought maybe this is what's going to happen, is they're eventually going to rebrand themselves again and become Global Force Wrestling. Which would suck, yes, because Impact Wrestling would be no more, but in my eyes, I'll always see it as that's who they still kind of are. I know they went by a new name, but people that wish that Billy Corgan would have taken over, Billy Corgan already said that he was going to rename it and rebrand it. He wasn't going to keep the TNA name. He wasn't going to keep Impact Wrestling name. He was going to rename it whatever he wanted. Maybe he would have named it his old company, the Renaissance Pro or whatever it was. So this company would have been rebranded, renamed at some point. It's still technically the same company, just a new name. That's kind of how I would always see it. But it'll be interesting to see if that's what's happening here with all the tournaments. I'm enjoying the intrigue part of it, at least right now. I'm enjoying the journey. But we'll see. I'm gonna just kind of take it with strides because, with it still being the same group that gave us such great moments in TNA history, I have a hard time believing that Global Force won't be the same, and it's still going to be an alternative to the WWE. So as long as that still stands, I'll be okay with it to a point. I'll be okay with it to a point. But inside the match, we saw a bunch of great double team moves, and a lot of great spots, high spots. That Laredo kid I mean, Laredo kid is a star in my book. I think he could be that next U.S. based luchador that kind of has the same aura as like a Rey Mysterio, has a lot of the same type of success as Rey Mysterio. The mask is cool, and I think if you're going to be a masked luchador in America at least, the mask does count. Like if you don't have kind of a cool mask, it kind of because you're not showing your face. So if you don't have like a cool mask, I don't think people get behind you as much. So I think that's one, and he's got a great mask. Whenever you listen to him on the mic, whether he's speaking in English or in Spanish, it sounds good. Like his English isn't so broken that it's hard to understand. It's pretty good. And then see here, but that's who I think he could be. Then we got that move by Diamante. What a crazy Hurricane Rana move that right there off the apron. I mean, that's dangerous because if she doesn't like hit that apron right, oof, man, that can't be feeling good. But that was an awesome spot. The other awesome spot was that off the top or the middle turnbuckle, I think it was, into the Canadian Destroyer type move. That was pretty cool. Overall, I thought that was just a really good, fun match. Good way to start off. Of course, LAX wins and is moving on. The fact that LAX is in it, if they do move on, if they do win the tournament and win the GFW titles, you're definitely going to have. And it seems like a lot of these stories, if you really kind of see where they're really heading, I think all these stories with the belts is leading towards unification of these titles. I mean, since they did merge, GFW's got to do something with these titles that they've had made for their company and made. So what I'm hoping for is eventually they merge, unify all these championships, and then now it's just an so you have GFW and TNA become Impact titles, and hopefully they'll get a whole new design, all new titles, because I think that's what this company needs, just a whole new rebranding, a whole new look, even down to the titles. Then we get, after the match, we go backstage to Bruce Pritchard and Magnus. They exchange some words. Basically, Magnus blames Bruce for why he lost his title, because of course he had to give El Patron the shot and everything else. Typical, like, I'm not getting any respect. Why are you making me do all this stuff? Blah, blah, blah. Then we move on to the Congo Kong versus Braxton Sutter match. This was fun. I was always interested to see how Congo Kong would do in a back and forth match. This was the closest thing we've had to one. And I thought it was good. It still kind of told a story. No matter what you think of how Congo Kong looks, it's professional wrestling. It's not real fighting. So I've never hated the way somebody looks necessarily. There's been times where I'm like, man, if he looked a little different, like as far as like if he got into better shape, he'd look better. With Congo Kong, it's almost like if he would gain more weight, he'd be fine because he's just at this kind of odd space. But it kind of works for him because he kind of looks like this, just like he looks like an orangutan. Almost, like the real long, lanky, fairly skinnier limbs, because he's got some like really long. His limbs they're long legs, long arms, and his torso is. I mean, it makes it look like it's like this, like like it does. It just looks really small, and then of course that's very fat. It's heavy set, so he does kind of look like a jungle being, if you will, and then that works with the the face paint that he always wears, of course, the Congo Kong name. So for me, the whole package works. But like I said, if anything, I wish he would gain more weight to make him look like more of just like this big, huge monster that's immovable. But regardless of what you think of how he looks, the guy can go in the ring. He knows what he can do and what he can't do, it seems, because he's not really trying to do anything that's just makes him look sloppy. He looks just big and massive, and Braxton played off of him really well. I think Braxton Sutter, formerly known as Pepper Parks, is just I think he's always been very underrated. Could be a huge deal, could be a big time player if booked right and getting the right stories and done right. But I thought, overall this match looked pretty good. Then, of course, after the match, KM and Sienna come down and they start beating down Allie and Braxton after the match. And then, of course, who makes the save? None other than Mahabali Shera. Shera comes down and makes a save. I thought he actually looks really good. For a while there, he kind of had an odd body look to him. But he looks more toned, more shredded. Maybe he's doing some DDP yoga, now, and so it's making him more shredded, doing those dynamic, resistant punches, and getting a tighter look. But he looked good, and I liked the way, I don't know, just something about maybe something he's doing with his hair or something. I don't know, but like the whole package he looked better. He looked more impressive. But he makes the save. He has some new music, which is good. Sounds like a more serious type music instead of the "Hi, I'm a dancing Indian man," and which I didn't hate that because it was kind of catchy. It was kind of cool. But he's a beast, and I think Dutch and Jeff and Scott Moore are gonna really book him like they should have whenever they first signed him. And going back over to India here, coming up in the next, I think, week. I think they're taping over there in a week. Of course, I think him and Sanjay, as long as Sanjay's healed up, I think will be both heavily used on the shows up there. So they got to kind of introduce him so he just doesn't just pop up. So, of course, he'll be on the shows. And that sets up next week. It's going to be Braxton Sutter and Shera versus Congo Kong and KM. Should be an interesting match. Again, I'm still kind of confused on where they're going with this story because I would have figured it was going to lead up to Laurel Van Ness, Congo Kong versus Sutter and Allie, probably match at Slammiversary. And they could still go there, but if you see, it's one thing WWE does that I can't stand is they show you basically the match that they're trying to build to every week leading up to that match, whether it's one form or another, especially like with tag teams. They'll just be like, this one will face this one guy, and then the next week the other one will face the other one, and then they'll crisscross, and then they'll face each other again, and then there's your 4 weeks of build-up. It's like, you get to the pay-per-view, you just don't want to see it anymore. So hopefully that's not where they go with this, because I really want to see those 4 go at it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think Allie versus Laurel Van Ness, period, could be a great match. I think both girls can go. They're 2 of the best women wrestlers right now. As far as just total overall gimmick, Allie Cherry Bombs on the independent scene is, one of the best. She's very decorated with all the different titles that she has held and won. So I know that they could have a very entertaining match. Whether it's technical or not, it doesn't matter. It's going to be entertaining. But after that, then we get another Ultimate X video package. Again, it was just really good. Then we get EC3 versus Jane Storm. Fresh off of EC3 just annihilating James Storm's back with that strap. So we get Magnus on commentary for this match because he wants to, prove and talk about that he's still a main eventer and he should still be in this title picture. He still wants a shot at that Impact Wrestling Championship. The match itself was decent. It's a typical kind of Storm EC3 match. It's pretty technically sound, entertaining. They're telling a story. A lot of times it's fairly slow paced, but that's fine because they're trying to build something there. Excuse me. At one point, Storm he has the fans hold on to EC3's arms, and he wants to start whipping him with the strap. So he grabs the belt, the strap, and Magnus ends up, trying to stop him, holds his arm back, takes the strap, blah, blah, blah. Then, of course, Bruce comes down with some security, kicks Magnus out from ringside. Then, another little bit of back and forth, and EC3 ends up getting disqualified because he now hits Brian Stifler with the belt, the referee. And oh my, those welts on Stifler's back were so, it was like the overall hits on Storm's back were bad, and the way it left marks and welts and just the redness. But these welts on Stifler's back looked like third-degree burn blisters that were just blistered. Oh, they would look so bad. Oh man, that was gross. So then, of course, Storm's up there. Magnus comes running back down and starts beating up on Storm. Then, of course, Bruce Pritchard comes down. They break it all up. Bruce Pritchard comes down, and he sets up a number one contenders three-way triple threat match next week between those three men. That should be an amazing match because it should be the main event. They should give it. They've been giving main events here the last couple weeks. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this. They're starting with about 30, 35, 40 minutes left in the show. So they're giving main events time to build, to tell a story, to draw in, let people buy in, to draw in the intensity and the drama. And they've been really good. The main events here the last 3-4 weeks have been really good. And I expect no different from these three next week, especially since it's also to see who goes on to main event a pay-per-view and to fight for that Impact Wrestling Championship. And I think all three of these guys could give Lashley a good match. But obviously, just personally, I want to see either Storm or EC3. I want to see EC3 because I want to see the young guy, and I'd be really happy to see EC3 kind of retake claim as the hood ornament of this company, the franchise. And then part of me wants to see Storm go on and face Lashley because I want to see Storm finally get what he's due, and that's another good actual run as the TNA or the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. And it's nothing against Lashley. I think Lashley's been amazing himself. But I'm kind of starting to get to that point where okay, I'm ready to see somebody else be champion for a little bit, and then have him maybe go get into the grand championship a little bit and help raise the importance of that championship. But yeah, so that'll be next week. That should be great. Then we get another Rockstar Spud vignette. And he's talking about how he's going to come back next week and get revenge on Hornswoggle and Swoggle. And yeah, these are great. Again, they're probably one of my favorite things to watch right now on the show. Then after that, we get women's GFW women's match. I can't remember if it was a title match or not. I think it was. I want to say it was the title match. Between ODB and Sienna. Man, it's the type of match you would expect from these two. Very hard hitting. Very hard hitting. And it was good. It's fun to see brawlers for the women's because there's not too many of them. Where you can get them both just big women, just they're brawling out and doing really good. These two, you're not going to have a very finesse, well-oiled machine match. It's gonna be ugly, but that's the good thing of it. It's a brawl. It's just two big old people just knocking each other around and getting physical. But that was good. Again, Sienna wins with the silencer, and I think they're gonna book her super strong leading into Slammiversary, and I would guess she's eventually going to face Rosemary, probably. Or if Gail Kim comes back, I could see her facing Gail Kim and them holding off on unifying the two women's titles until maybe after, and let Gail do that or something like that. Then we're getting ready for the main event of the evening. But first, JB's back. JB's music hits. He comes down, and which Josh Matthews, I think he stole this whole segment. Josh has been good. His commentary is okay. Even I'm just talking period, not just with this goat gimmick that he's been doing, but his commentating is okay. His weird accent has him pronounce things really odd, and sometimes that gets in the way. It's not his fault. It's just how it happened. I mean, it's just, this is the way it is. But his acting and his just bringing in people and making people hate him has been amazing. He's been really good at that. And Josh had this great reaction whenever JB's first coming out and tells him that he's reinstated, and he gets up on the top of the announce table and he's like just got his elbows on his knees and his hands up. He's like, really, what? And of course, JB says he's back, and he says, wouldn't anybody like to meet my attorney? And Joseph Park's music hits, and here comes Joseph Park. Again, Josh's face was amazing whenever the music first hit. It was funny. I can't even remember exact what it was, but to be able to redo it here, but I wouldn't be able to redo it any justice. Excuse me. Then Joseph Park, was kind of going back and forth with Josh, and then of course Josh was like, "What? You're Abyss. We know who you are. We're not all 12." What's going on? He's like, "What? Me? No, I'm not. I'm not Abyss. No, I'm Joseph Park. Remember, I used to be here. I used to wrestle. Joseph Park. Yeah, remember, I used to beat that mid-Carter Bully Ray." Oh, man, that was a good dig. I don't know if that was a friendly dig or if it was one of those things of hey, you wanna deny coming back and say shit about Impact now. Well, guess what? I'm one of the OGs, and I'm gonna take this time to go ahead and kind of nudge you a little bit with that. I don't know, because I don't know what their past is. I don't know if they're friendly or not. But it's fun to put some interpretation into why and what he actually was saying there. One thing I also really like, because obviously I watch on Twitter and I try to live tweet as I'm watching the show, but Rosemary even it was perfect. Rosemary's even playing along with this whole storyline on Twitter. Of course, she's been saying a lot of different things about trying to listen for the hurt, the decaying souls or whatever, and new people that want to decay and all this stuff. And of course, then Joseph Park comes out and she's like, "Wait, huh?" Just going wait, what's going on here? What? And then even Gail Kim was would tweet Joseph Park saying how he is her favorite attorney. So then he goes, "Oh, well, you're my favorite knockout." And then Rosemary would tweet back with that, going "No, you can't. What's going on?" It's so funny. Love how she's playing along with it and kayfabe and having a good time with it. And I like whenever they do those certain things. Most of us all know kayfabe is dead, but if you can just kind of play along in certain situations, it makes it fun. It makes it fun again to be a fan. But then after all that, we finally get the three-way Ultimate X main event for the X Division Championship. We have Low Ki versus Andrew Everett versus Trevor Lee. And man, how in the hell does Low Ki wrestle in that suit? How does he do that? I mean, and still do all the moves that he can do. It's amazing how he can do that. The one spot that I thought something that stood out to me, and again, I haven't seen like every wrestling match I've ever done, so I don't want to see any comments like, well, actually, there was this one time. But a spot to pick, you see so many times in hardcore matches, people kind of no sell certain things, and one thing that I hardly ever see sold in any wrestling match, whether it's a hardcore match or not, is the whole like, I'm gonna come hit you with this chair. It's right in front of my face, and the guy punches it. Oh, so now it goes into the guy's face. They never sell the. I mean, if you're hitting the chair with your fist as hard as you can, guess what's happening? You're gonna hurt your hand. And low key sold that. Like, oh man, that hurt. That hurt. But then he continued to sell it throughout the match. That's why he had to go to the very top, climb over and down on top of the cables that were holding the title. Great. I loved that. I absolutely loved that. And a lot of people don't usually sell it. They don't even sell the whole like, oh man, that kind of hurt. They don't even sell that. I thought the ending was super creative. Obviously, there's only so many ways you can end a Ultimate X match. And we've seen something similar to this before. But I just thought it was really creative how they actually kind of, they really timed it just about perfect for how Trevor Lee was coming in on the cable one way, Andrew Everett was coming in on the cable the other, and then there's Low Ki trying as hard as he can because he was kind of behind, catch back up and then drop down on top. But I thought overall that match was great. It was hard hitting. They had some great spots. They were telling stories, especially with Shane Helms getting in and helping Trevor Lee. And man, another great main event, another great show. A lot of fun stuff. Sure, there's things that you could probably really want to nitpick about, but I'm just not going to nitpick because nothing's perfect. There's even TV shows you sit there and go, really? Come on. There's a story gap there, so everything has its ups and downs. But I thought just overall the show was great. It was so much fun. I had a blast watching it. Really looking forward to next week and seeing where these stories are leading to for Slammiversary. And that's kind of the whole point of these shows. Keep you wanting to tune in the next week. So, kudos to all the creative people back there at Impact Wrestling. I think you guys are doing a great job. Can't wait to see how you guys keep progressing this and keep making Impact great. So, but anyway, that's all for me now. I'm going to make this kind of a quick video since it's been coming up late. Can't wait. I will see you guys next week. So everybody, if you like this video, please hit like, please hit subscribe, leave some comments, and enjoy the rest of your guys' days. Until next week, peace.